welcome to a video. This is my first IRL video after I stopped playing video games and on my channel. So what I thought I would do is start like a story time series. Okay, this series is exposing my old school that I went to for like 6 years, that I went through hell there. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this video. Now, I left that school, I moved away from that school like 3 years ago. Like, my last year there was 6th grade, which was by far the worst. And was by far the worst. So, it was kind of like, and I'm not going to be exposing what school I went to. I went to a very small, like very tiny school in Eastern Washington. We're talking like 16 people per grade at most at that school. Like grade, not class, grade. Like the entire grade was 16 of you, basically. So, it's a school in Eastern Washington, in between the cities of Spokane and Moscow. I'm not gonna name the school, but if you guys do some research, maybe you'll find it. I don't know. But like, I've just decided to expose them. And how we're gonna do this is because we're just gonna go year by year. So I went there from 1st grade to 6th grade. I'm in freshman now. You may be like, oh, you're not going to remember any of 1st grade. I do remember some of those grades vividly. So, yeah. So we're going to start now. Okay, so the first year we're discussing is the 1st grade year. So this year I was barely there, like, at all. So I started school there, like, maybe 2 months I started attending there. I was homeschooled for years before this. I lived in the area, but I was homeschooled. Now, to give you a little indication, I was on a farm 20 minutes away. I had to ride a bus. It took an hour for some reason. Adds 40 minutes on, I guess because you had to pick up kids, but still. And then when I would get there, I kind of was expecting to start school. So, yeah. That was the year. That was the year that I ended up starting school, 1st grade, after being homeschooled for most of my life. Last 2 months, like I said. So, had to ride a bus. Not good already. Now, the teacher wasn't that bad, but, like, she tried to, like, I didn't know anything about, like, the rules and, like, what I was supposed to do, right? That's context. Like, I didn't know any of the rules. So I would do things I thought were okay, and some of them I don't see a problem with. And then the teacher would get super mad at me. We had this card system. Now, I was the goody two-shoes kid who never got in trouble, ever, basically. I turned one of those cards, every single day I was there, because the teacher didn't explain a single rule to me. And then this other girl really hated me, and she'd kind of be mean to me. And then we got into an argument about it when I asked her to treat me better. And the teacher heard the entire argument, had witnessed it, and was basically like, oh yeah, it's your own fault. She blamed me for it. Yeah. Which, that's all type of messed up, but I admit I wasn't a very good kid back then. So, yeah. And, yeah. So, yeah. Now, this was before I was transgender female. If you guys didn't know, that's what I am. I just don't share it very much. But, yeah, that was before. I didn't start doing that till, like, 8th grade. So that was 2 years after I left. So, yeah. I was still a boy, and I was girl crazy. For a 1st grader, that's weird. And I was struggling and stuff. And this girl made fun of me for it, so yeah. And then we got into made fun of me for it and stuff like that. I wasn't that great of a person either, but I surely didn't want I surely wouldn't like be mean to people. So yeah, I wasn't completely innocent that year either, but yeah. Second grade, now, second grade. Second grade is the year I remember the least. So, there's not much that actually, like, happened that year. Like, it wasn't, like, I made my best friend who was held back that year to take second grade over again, and who was a fake best friend, but we don't go into that. And, like, she was a fake best friend, so yeah. And, like, nobody really, that one girl stopped going after me anymore. Nothing bad, like, really ever happened second grade. So second grade, nothing really ever went wrong. So we're gonna go into the next year. Third grade. This is, like, by far the best year, like, because I had an actual decent teacher who I actually taught the kids how to be nice for 1 year. This was the only year anybody was ever nice. It never happened again. Trust me, it never happened again. So, I had to treasure this year while it happened. The teacher was amazing. She was strict, but being strict doesn't make you a bad teacher. That's the common misconception with teachers. Like, she was strict, but she was nice. She was a good teacher. Like, that doesn't make her a bad teacher. You'll see that difference when I go into other teachers. So, yeah. Yeah, so third grade was by far the best year. Amazing teacher, great teacher, loved her. Third grade was the best year. So only decent year, I would say. It's a year I could call decent for once, which was something new to say. So yeah. Now we're going into fourth grade. This was a bad year, by the way. So this year, kind of sad events happened. My mom passed away from cancer. Sad stuff like that. Sad stuff like that happened. And the teacher basically, and I basically got 1 day of everyone being like, oh, I'm so sorry, with that whole thing. After that, everybody was like, oh, it's your family's fault, it's her fault. She wouldn't have gotten cancer if she didn't do drugs, which is the stupidest thing ever. I'm, like, over it now, which is why I'm not in tears right now. It's been 5 years, so I'm more over it now. But, yeah. It was, like, yeah, and when I would go to the teacher, she would just be like, people, like, at this school, people lost a parent, like, somehow, like, once a year. Like, I was a boy back then, remember that. All the others were girls. They got, like, very special treatment because of it, and were like, I'm so sorry. When it happened to me, I was, like, the second person it happened to since I'd been there. She was like, deal with it yourself. Because the school, like, was very against men, if you know what I mean. Like, they were very against men, very much. Which I don't know if that's why necessarily I'm trans today, but I don't think so. I don't exactly think I would say that's why. But yeah. Fourth grade, by far, a bad year. Fifth grade. It keeps getting worse. It keeps getting worse. So, fifth grade was... this was by far the worst teacher I'd ever had. Like, I don't even know if people back then people from middle school found my channel, and whenever they hear about my teacher, they'd step in and defend her like, oh, that's a lie, that's a lie. Yeah, you're just defending yourself. You guys weren't all that great either. I'm sorry, I just had to say it. But, like, I don't think they watch anymore, but yeah. Fifth grade sucked. What happened, this was by far the worst teacher I'd ever had. I had major surgery that year, keep in mind. I missed ages of school because of this. The teacher And then when I came back, the teacher was like angry that I was gone so long. I was in recovery. Like, hear that. I was in recovery. Instead of oh, I'm glad you're back. Why were you gone? You shouldn't have been gone, is legit what she said. She was like angry at me for being absent. And then I had to make up a bunch of work, which I didn't make up till like the last day of school. Like, I have a learning disability. So I have this weird IEP thing that I don't quite understand. But the teacher, like, freaking, like, did everything she can. She wouldn't, like, use it. Like, everything that had to do with it was no. I wasn't even the only kid in the class with it, I'm pretty sure. But, like, she had favorites, specifically. If you were, guess what? The favorites were popular. Like, I got bullied, but not that as bad as I'd been the next year, which I'll go into. And she basically just said, tough it up, it's deal with it yourself, deal with it. Basically, it's legit what she kept telling me, deal with it, is what she said. This grade makes me angry, and part of the reason I'm glad to be exposing the school. Like, she was just like, it was, like, and then, by far, this wasn't even the worst. Like, getting, like, picked on by this teacher because of my learning disability that, by the way, my dad would talk to the principal. He would talk, saying they're not following her IUP. They would talk to the teacher. She would say, okay, I'll do all this. Nah, everything was the exact opposite. Like, the exact opposite. Like, she would say that, she would do this to principal, and she would do the exact opposite. Let that sink in. I don't know if she still has a job. I never saw her again after this year, because 6th grade was middle school. But yeah. Now, that, like, sucked. For, like, by far the worst thing that happened that year. I haven't even said the worst thing. This is the worst thing. I was basically kept in because I had work to do that I wasn't missing. And then I just, like, was doing it. I was working hard. Like, the other kids were out because if you didn't have missing work, you got to go, like, aid younger kids, like the kindergartners. So, basically, suddenly, this is, like, a story. This is, like, the worst thing that's ever happened to me in school history. It may seem like nothing to you, but I'm, like, doing my work. I'm doing my work. She's like, I'm doing my work. She comes over, says, come with me. I'm like, okay, because I'm a good kid. I'm following her, right? Following her, like I'm supposed to. And she legit says, and I'm like, why? And she's like, we're going to principal. I'm like, why? And she's like, you weren't working. Yes, I was. And you know what her logic was? Here was her logic to me not working when I was. You were holding your pencil wrong, so clearly you weren't working. That was her logic. The most dumbest logic ever, and I honestly don't know how she ever became a teacher in the first place if she had that logic. I'm in the principal. I was literally crying because I'd never been to the principal's office before, ever. Like, I was a good kid. I'd never been there, and I was crying. And I basically just told the principal all the bad stuff she had did, like how nasty she had treated me, like exposed everything to him. And the fact that I was in here for no reason. This is what he says. You two had a big misunderstanding of each other. Nope, no, she has to be nicer. No, like, you two just misunderstood each other. Like, yes, that was probably partially true, but, like, she did some really messed up stuff, and the principal, like, didn't care. So, yeah. 6th grade. Now we're gonna go 6th grade. This is the cherry on top. This was the last year I was there, and for good reason, too. After all the stuff I dealt with, my dad had basically decided, we're gonna move because the school's messed up anyways. So I was like, yay, no more of the school. We were moving across state to where I am now, which is a really amazing place, by the way. I love it here, personally. But 6th grade, for context of this year, the middle school was at the other school in this district. So there were 2 school districts. I almost said them. I can't say them. One was elementary and high school. And then for that school district, you went and combined with the other district for middle school, which they had the middle school. And then you went back to that other back to the district you went for elementary school for high school. Yes, really weird. It was a small school. This is how they did things. But, like, I went there. So, but because this other school was, like, an hour away from this school, it meant I rode 3 buses to get there. So the first bus was fine. The first bus was fine. Keep in mind, I hadn't transitioned to female yet when the story comes. The first bus was fine. It was a bus I rode to get to the school I'd gone to for elementary school, where I'd get on with all my elementary school classmates and people who lived in that area and go to the other school that was like an hour away. Really confusing, I know. But the second bus, the teacher basically, the 2 buses had the stupidest rule ever. Like, I was a 6th grader, right? 8th graders literally were going around bumping people out of their seats. And I told the bus driver, like, oh, they're bumping people out of their seats and they're making people leave because they want to sit there. And the bus driver was like, yeah, that's a rule. They're allowed to do that. What? Like, what? They're allowed to do that, apparently. And boys and girls were separated. Because I was a boy, I had to sit with the boys. These 3 boys would game up on me on the bus and they'd lay into me, start bullying me, bring me to tears, like, every day. The bus drivers would listen to this. Like, they could hear. They were being very loud. The bus drivers could hear. And they wouldn't say anything. They would just be silent. And then one day, a teacher went on was like, you guys are saying some really messed up stuff on the bus, is what the teacher said. I was like, yes, they taught security cameras. They heard everything. The teacher was like, you were saying curse words on the bus. That's messed up. That's the worst thing ever. Which, you know what, that means the teacher, if she could hear the curse words, she heard what those people were, the mean things the kids were saying to me, and just chose not to care. She chose not to care. Yeah. So it's really messed up. The school is really messed up. Like, I mean, I don't know if I want the school to get shut down, but they should at least get a talking to. Like, I'm not even naming the school just because I don't want a lawsuit against my family, but yeah, it's so stupid. Like, yeah, so 6th grade was that year. I got bullied every day on the buses, even at lunch, and I'd get blamed for it at lunch most of the time. But the buses were the worst. It was so bad, I'd get kicked out of my seat, be super confused, get bullied by kids in my grade, and there was clear evidence that adults heard it and did nothing about it. Like, they just chose not to care. So yeah, it's really messed up, and I'm actually really glad I'm exposing them. So that was the year, and here's some other things you should know. Like, most of the teachers are bad, except that one you mentioned. Most of the teachers are terrible, which is probably because the school is so small and they don't have money, so they can't hire decent teachers. And also, the kids are all mean. Like, none of them are nice. Like, I had 0 friends. Well, I had my best friend, and then she, became friends with the bullies in 6th grade. But it was weird. She was friends with the bullies sometimes and friends with the school with me other times. It was really weird. Like, I lost everybody 6th grade. Like, everybody, there was maybe 3 people who were my friends. They were not my friends that year. Yeah. So, yeah, that was really weird. And, yeah, I had to reveal a lot of secrets to do this video for context. Like, I'm transgender female now. That's why I was a boy back then. And the school was very anti-boy, basically. The school was anti-boy. If you were a boy, you get worse treatment than the girls. Like, girls got this treatment, boys got, this treatment. Yeah, let that sink in. And boys, if a boy did anything to hurt a girl, they'd get in big trouble. But if a girl does something to hurt a boy, no trouble. Girl does something to hurt a girl, no trouble. Boy does something to hurt a boy, no trouble. The only time it apparently mattered to the school is if the boy hurt a girl in some way. That's the only time it mattered. So yeah, this school is completely messed up. I know I don't know if any of the people who used to follow me were, but it's messed up. The school is messed up. I don't know. Oh, and one more thing you need to know. The school is very homophobic. Well, not the school necessarily, but the kids. Like, the kids constantly were making gay slurs, homophobic slurs, using gay to bully people, calling them gay and harassing them for it. Like, I didn't know I was bisexual yet. I didn't know I was trans female yet. But all the kids knew somehow, and that meant I got bullied for it. And that left me in denial for 2 years after we left. Because I didn't want them to be right. But they were, and now I'm happy they were right, so yeah. And basically, and curse words were used. Curse words were used, yes. So when that adult came on to be like, yeah, curse words were used to get mad at us for curse words. She was getting mad at us for curse words, but all the homophobic things that were said, the mean, nasty things that were said to me, didn't matter, basically. So yeah, that's me exposing the school for all the madness they did. I'm not gonna ever name the school. I hope you guys legit find out what school I went to. Like I said, I lived in Eastern Washington. It's a tiny 16 person per grade, not class, grade tiny school. Two districts that are combined into two schools that are combined into one like that, and it's in between the cities of Spokane and Moscow. I don't know if you guys know unless you live in Eastern Washington, but yeah, I hope you guys find out what school I went to. It's really weird. And yeah, I might make this into a series where I go into more things that happened there. I don't know. But if you want that, leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!